What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel. In this one, we have a lot of Toronto Blue Jays news and conversations to get into. Some stuff going on right now with the prospects deciding whether or not to trade or not to trade them this offseason. MLB linking the Toronto Blue Jays to a pretty big free agent, and then a new target for these Toronto Blue Jays that was just revealed, a pretty surprising target as well. We're going to save that to the end, so stay tuned, folks. So the first thing that I want to talk about here is the Toronto Blue Jays prospects. Now, the last few seasons, the Blue Jays, they've kind of been shipping them off, right? You saw it with Burrios, you saw it with Dalton Varsho, trading away Gabriel Moreno. The Blue Jays, they have really been depleting that prospect system, when you look at it, it is not nearly as stacked as it was a few years ago. Now, walking into this offseason, they have a decision to make, right? Because you're losing a lot of players, and you need to decide whether or not you are going to fill those holes by either bringing up the prospects that you already currently have, or using those prospects as bullets to fire in potential trades to make your team stronger right now and just lengthen that window just a little bit longer, maybe increasing your chances to potentially win a chip with this core. Shai Davidi very recently went on the Blair and Barker show and talked exactly about this, where he said, "My sense is that the Blue Jays aren't very motivated to subtract from the prospect group in a significant way via trade this offseason." And honestly, folks, that is a freaking good thing to hear. Like, don't get me wrong, okay? I am all about the big potential trade, you know, going out and bringing in that guy that you know is going to be good. But these prospects, they could also be good. I mean, example A, Gabriel Moreno, right? And you can't keep managing your franchise where you just don't keep any of the youth, because eventually that is something that's going to catch up to you. You know, if you keep trading away these people from your pool, then when it is time to potentially recycle and start again, you just won't be able to, right? Because the talent isn't going to be there. And we've seen these Toronto Blue Jays fire off a ton of those bullets in the past few years. You know, I want to hold on to Ricky Tiedemann. I want to hold on to Elvis Martinez and Addison Barger, you know, and if it's not for a trade for Ronald Acuna Jr., which, let's face it, would never ever happen, then what is the point of trading these guys away in the first place? Also, I think the management is pretty triggered by the Moreno and Dalton Varsho trade, and that just goes to show, right, that even if you're trading away prospects, you're not always going to get a sure thing in return, because Dalton Varsho, he was supposed to be a sure thing, and look how that's turned out so far. So the prospects, unless something very big changes this offseason, should be staying put, which is a good transition to this next piece of news that came out, which was the MLB linking the Toronto Blue Jays to a pretty big free agent. Jeimer Candelario, third baseman, entering into free agency at age 30. MLB has listed the Toronto Blue Jays as the #1 potential fit for this guy. And I think with what we just talked about, it makes a lot of sense, you know, because if the Toronto Blue Jays right now, assuming they let Matt Chapman walk, if they walk into next season with just Addison Barger and or Elvis Martinez and Santiago Espinal at the third base bag, that to me is not the formula for a winning ball club, right? For a team that is looking to stay competitive and make a playoff run. I just don't necessarily feel comfortable walking into the season with largely rookies at maybe the most important defensive position, being the third base bag, right? So if the strategy is we're going to hold on to these prospects, we're going to give them the opportunity to prove themselves at the major league level, that's fine, but you still need to have a backup plan, and Candelario is the perfect backup plan. Last year was a phenomenal season for him with the bat. He had an OPS over 800, and an OPS over 800 on the Toronto Blue Jays, that would go a long freaking way. And the best part about Candelario is that he's not just a third baseman, but he also plays some first base too. And if you're the Toronto Blue Jays right now, you're losing Matt Chapman, maybe, you know, if they don't sign him back, but let's assume you're losing Matt Chapman, you're also losing Brandon Belt, right? So if you bring in Candelario, he can help teach those young kids how to play third base, and he can be your backup plan there, but then he can also move over to the first base bag and play that role to get Vladdy off of his feet a little bit. Candelario is a free agent that is not going to break the bank either, so if the Blue Jays wanted to go out and get him, that doesn't need to be your one big move, right? And assuming Matt Chapman does walk, this would be a perfect guy to come in, improve your lineup immediately with the baseball bat, and then help those young kids develop and kind of pass the torch to the Elvis Martinez's and to the Addison Bargers of the world. Finally, folks, let's talk about this new and honestly surprising free agent that the Toronto Blue Jays are being linked to right now. Whoa, time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content. Yariel Rodriguez, a 26-year-old Cuban-born pitcher. This guy's played in Japan, where he was very, very good. He played in the World Baseball Classic for Cuba, and now he is looking to make his way over to the MLB. Francis Romero says, sources, 10 teams right now are the strongest candidates to sign the Cuban right-handed pitcher, Yariel Rodriguez. Now, I'm not going to read off every single one of those teams, but the Toronto Blue Jays, they are one of those 10 squads. He goes on to say, waiting for free agency, Rodriguez threw 94 to 97 miles per hour in 3 consecutive tryouts with dominant pitches such as the curve and slider. According to several industry experts I consulted, the belief is that Yariel will receive a multi-year contract in the range of $40 to $70 million. And this is big, folks, because not only does it mean that the Toronto Blue Jays are in on this guy who could be very good in his own right, but it also means that they are looking at a pitcher who could potentially command $40 to $70 million. And this is something the Toronto Blue Jays fans, we really didn't expect. You know, you look at that rotation and it is pretty stacked top to bottom, but now they are in the conversations to bring in more talent. And I mean, if you're in the conversations for this guy, right, this guy who has never touched an MLB field at all, what's to say that these Toronto Blue Jays aren't in on some of the other pitchers, right? You know, some of the other guys who are on free agency right now. You know, if they're looking to spend $40 to $70 million on this dude, like, that kind of opens up the options for a bunch of other guys. It should also be noted that this pitcher in particular, not only has he played a ton as a bullpen arm, but he's also been very good as a starting pitcher as well. And it's kind of unclear what role he would play in the MLB, but it's kind of nice knowing that if you did get this guy, you could try him out as a starter, you could try him out as a bullpen guy. He can do both. Either way, folks, I'm very happy to hear that the Toronto Blue Jays are one of the strongest contenders to get this guy. And just the fact that they are engaging in conversations for players who would command that type of payroll, right? Because if they're doing it this early in the offseason, looking for a dude for $40 to $70 million, I think that goes to show that it's going to be a pretty big offseason, guys. But folks, let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, go Jays go.